Boston suddenly turned into a sea of sound when BTS shook the concert stage once again. The thousands of armies filling the stadium that night seemed to be given no chance to rest, especially when Jimin appeared and began performing one of the most emotional songs, Make It Right. From the very first note, the atmosphere in the stadium shifted instantly. The cheers of ARMY echoed so loudly that Jimin's performance felt like a grand, unforgettable moment. With a vocal delivery that was soft yet powerful, Jimin successfully drew the entire audience into the mood of the song. Yet it wasn't just ARMY who were captivated. In the narrative circulating among fans, attention was also drawn to a Boston official said to be watching the performance live. The look of awe visible as Jimin sang became a major talking point, making the concert's atmosphere even more dramatic. Jimin truly showed a different side of himself that night. Rather than relying solely on choreography and visuals, he made Make It Right sound deeply personal. Every note seemed to carry its own emotion, while the spotlights followed his movements across the stage. ARMY began singing along as well. Thousands of voices merged with Jimin's until the stadium sounded like one massive voice. The moment grew even more emotional when Jimin glanced toward the stands and smiled faintly before continuing to the next section. However, amidst such a captivating performance, the cameras and fans' attention briefly shifted to Jungkook. Standing on stage, Jungkook appeared to be watching Jimin with an expression that immediately threw ARMY off focus. Instead of simply enjoying the show as usual, Jungkook's gaze at Jimin looked so intense and focused that fans quickly began buzzing about it. "Jungkook can't even hide his expression," wrote several fans on social media, while others joked that Jungkook seemed to be the most mesmerized audience member that night. When Jimin reached the most emotional vocal climax, Jungkook was once again seen watching him closely. That brief moment instantly triggered screams from ARMY. Even before the song ended, social media was flooded with video clips and comments regarding Jungkook's reaction. What made the atmosphere even more chaotic was how Jimin wrapped up his performance. After the final note of Make It Right faded, the stadium exploded into cheers. Jimin smiled as he received a lengthy round of applause from thousands of fans. Jungkook also appeared to offer a positive response to the performance. That interaction quickly became one of the most talked about highlights among fans, as the chemistry between the two once again stole the spotlight in the middle of the concert. Boston that night witnessed more than just a musical show. For ARMY, the performance of Make It Right turned into an emotional milestone that showcased how powerful Jimin is in conveying a song, while also delivering a subtle interaction with Jungkook that successfully set the atmosphere ablaze. Even the Boston official said to be in awe of Jimin's performance became part of the story that made the evening feel extra special. If the moment truly unfolded as fans described, it is hardly surprising that Jimin managed to leave a profound impression on anyone watching live. And as the stage lights slowly dimmed, ARMY continued to chant Jimin's name. Meanwhile, one thing that left fans increasingly curious was Jungkook's expression throughout the performance. Was he simply enjoying Jimin's act as a fellow BTS member? Or was there another reason his gaze was so hard to pull away? Whatever the answer, one thing was certain. Make It Right in Boston became one of the most emotional and widely discussed moments, as Jimin proved once again that with just his voice and expression, he could make an entire stadium go silent, weep, and then burst into cheers. Yet Jungkook's attention toward Jimin did not stop at that single glance. A few seconds later, as Jimin took his position on stage again, Jungkook was seen glancing back at him. This time, his reaction intrigued ARMY even further. Jungkook wore a subtle smile while continuing to watch Jimin finish his line. The stadium, which had previously been filled with singing, suddenly erupted into noise once more. ARMYs who caught the small interaction reacted wildly. Screams resounded from every corner, as if no one wanted to miss a single second of the moment. Some fans who were recording Jimin even spontaneously redirected their cameras toward Jungkook. Within seconds, the audience's focus was divided. Jimin delivering a stunning performance on one side, and Jungkook visibly thoroughly enjoying it on the other. What sent ARMY into a complete frenzy was Jungkook's relaxed expression. There were no exaggerated gestures, no grand actions. Just a look, a small smile, and an attentiveness that was apparently enough to send an entire stadium into high gear. Jimin himself seemed unaware that he had become the center of Jungkook's attention. He continued his performance with complete confidence, occasionally smiling at ARMY, while finishing every part of the song. That dynamic made the moment feel all the more natural. As Make It Right neared its final section, Jungkook was seen watching Jimin once again. And when the final note sounded, ARMY's cheers erupted at full volume. Jimin smiled and bowed as a sign of gratitude to the crowd. On the other side, Jungkook also showed a positive response to the performance. To ARMY, the moment felt like a mini scene taking place inside a grand show. There was no lengthy dialogue, yet Jungkook's expression was more than enough for fans to construct endless theories. Social media was soon filled with comments centered on the exact same question. Why did Jungkook look so intensely focused on Jimin that night? Some fans believed Jungkook was simply offering encouragement to Jimin as a fellow bandmate. Others felt Jungkook's expression looked different from usual, far too interesting to ignore. Besides, Jimin was undeniably extraordinary that night. His vocals sounded rich with emotion, his expressions were powerful, and the entire stadium seemed swept away by the ambience. It was no wonder that Jungkook was captivated as well. Yet that is precisely what left ARMY even more curious. After the performance ended, would Jungkook praise Jimin directly, or keep his reaction to himself as he usually does? If their onstage dynamic was enough to whip ARMY into a frenzy, their interaction after the song could well be the next big surprise. Once again, Boston proved that sometimes it isn't just massive grand gestures that make a concert unforgettable. A single brief look from Jungkook to Jimin was all it took to leave thousands of ARMYs completely distracted. However, the touching mood was far from over as the song entered its final movement. In fact, the closer it got to the closing note, the more ARMYs were seen unable to hold back their tears. Some fans hugged the person next to them while continuing to sing the lyrics. Others held their ARMY bombs high, their hands visibly trembling from the emotion. A few simply stood still, watching Jimin from afar as if trying to memorize every second before the song came to a complete end. That sight transformed the feel of the stadium. Thousands of people who had come to have fun suddenly shared a deeply personal moment. Jimin's voice acted as a bridge between the stage and the stands, making the vast distance feel entirely non-existent. As Jimin sang the final line, the voices of ARMY gradually blended with his. Jimin was no longer singing alone. The entire stadium seemed to take over the song, singing it in unison. The ocean of ARMY bombs kept moving to the rhythm. From the stage, the view must have been extraordinary. Thousands of lights filled the venue while the sound of the fans echoed continuously. After the final note resonated, Jimin stood still for a brief pause. Cheers exploded immediately. Jimin! 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 Jimin's name was chanted repeatedly from every direction. The chants grew louder until Jimin broke into a broad smile. He then offered a gesture of thanks to ARMY, as if returning all the energy that had just been poured out to him. That gesture prompted several fans to break into tears again. For them, it was not just the song that rendered the night so emotional. There was a shared feeling that they were building a memory alongside Jimin. A moment that lasted only a few minutes on stage, yet would remain tucked away in their hearts for much longer. Even as Jimin began moving toward the next section of the stage, many ARMYs continued shouting his name, unwilling to let the atmosphere of Make It Right fade away so quickly. Amidst the roaring noise, Jimin turned back toward the stands and smiled once more. That brief look sent the audience into hysterics again. On the other side of the stage, Jungkook also caught the spotlight as he watched the interaction between Jimin and ARMY. The moment made the night feel complete. Jimin was receiving immense love from the crowd, while Jungkook stood by, witnessing just how emotional the evening had become. It came as no surprise that after the concert ended, many ARMYs hailed the performance of Make It Right as one of the most memorable moments in Boston. Not because of any massive gimmick or spectacular stage stunt, but because for a few minutes, thousands of people genuinely felt the exact same emotion. Jimin sang, ARMY wept, and the entire stadium sang along with him. That night, Make It Right was no longer just a song. For the armies present in Boston, it turned into an emotional memory they will likely continue to recount years after the concert is over. The focus on the honored guest became even more noticeable when Jimin entered the most poignant stretch of Make It Right. Amidst the stadium filled with armies' voices, the guest was seen taking in the performance with undivided attention. That detail added another layer of interest to the show. While thousands of fans were delivering an overwhelming response, Jimin's performance also managed to capture the full attention of the invited guests viewing the show live. Jimin himself appeared entirely unfazed by the immense spotlight on him. He remained calm and focused, delivering the song with heartfelt expression. It was precisely that composure that made his presence feel all the stronger. Every time Jimin's vocals reached the higher notes, the cheers from ARMY erupted anew. Some fans could even be heard shouting his name before he finished his phrasing. The dramatic atmosphere intensified as thousands of ARMY bombs filled the view once more. The lights from the stands swayed to the rhythm of the music, creating a breathtaking visual where the stage and the audience merged into one.